Hi everyone, Joyce Vega here, and for today's video, I am going to interview someone who worked in the call center industry for 10 years and is now enjoying her work from home job. If you're interested to hear her story, her experiences, her journey, then keep on watching.
Can you first share your work experience prior to working from home?
So prior to working from home, I was working for a different company. I was working for an Australian company that was based here in the city. I worked there for about a year, and then prior to that, I also worked online for a Canadian real estate company. So I worked with that
Okay.
company for about a year, and before that, my very first job, I worked for um, I worked in the corporate world. I worked there for almost 10 years,
Oh,
9 years and 10 months to be exact. I was with operations initially for about 4 years and then 5 years with training and quality.
okay. So what industry is this?
The first job I worked at a contact center, a call center.
So how did you start working online? How did you start? Like, did
Um,
someone invite you? Did someone recommend a website? Or how did you start your career working from home?
well, somebody reached out to me, a friend of mine reached
Mm.
out to me. Because my very first online job was actually part time. I worked
Okay.
as a part time trainer for a Chinese human resources company. So I was still working for Concentrics. And then one of my classmates, because I'm actually a licensed teacher. So one of my
Mm.
classmates is based in Beijing. She's a trainer for this company, and they were looking to hire online trainers. And so she reached out to me and she asked if I was interested to work for them. And so I said yes. I worked for them for a couple of years up until I resigned from Concentrics. And then, the experience of being able to work from home is pretty amazing because there's flexibility. And then there's also the part where you can work in your pajamas,
Yeah, I can relate
right?
actually.
You can work in your pajamas. So there's
Yeah.
the dress code is not very strict. And so after working for corporate for a very long time, there came a time wherein I just had to make a decision if I wanted to spend the next few years, in a highly demanding position with a lot of stress and a lot of
Mm.
responsibilities. And so I, you know, somebody also reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to work for them. So I decided that this could be it. And so
Mm.
one other factor is I would say that one other thing that factored into my decision making is that I prayed about it. I believe, with
Yeah.
everything that you do as a Christian, I believe that it's so important to align myself with God's will for my life. So I prayed about it,
Yes.
and there was peace, and so I went for it, and I started working from home.
Okay. Wow, amazing. But you mentioned that you really like working from home because you can work wearing your pajamas. So, um, in relation to that, can you mention a few, like a list of what you really, really like about working from home, aside from being able to wear your pajamas while working?
Aside from being very comfortable, right? I love the fact that I don't have to prepare. I don't have to spend so much time preparing. I'm
Mm,
not a morning person. I've never been a morning person. So, when I was working corporate, waking up early was a struggle for me, and getting to work was a struggle because I'm not a morning
yeah.
person. I've never been a morning person. And so that's one of the things that I like. I'm more of a night owl. I function better. I operate better, I'm more productive at night.
Mm,
Another thing is, of course, the pay is better.
yeah.
In my case, the pay is better, and also the benefits. And I get to spend more time with family. and with friends. And one other thing is when I started to work from home, I was able to, I was able to spend time doing the things that I really want to do. Like, when I was working in the past, when I was working corporate, when you think about it, the 8 hours that you spend in the office, the 9 hours is not really 9 hours, right? At a minimum, I'd be in the office for 10, 11, 12 hours because of my responsibilities in the workplace,
Mm,
plus the prep time, right? So really,
yeah.
you're away half of the day when you are,
Mm,
working in a conventional work environment. But when I started to work from home, 8 hours is really just 8 hours.
yeah. And you don't have to commute.
So I don't have to spend time commuting to work. So that's one other thing. And pretty much during this pandemic, the work from home part has been it's been very helpful because
Yeah.
I know that um, a lot of people have had struggles with yeah with what's going on in the world today, and a lot of them have started to become fearful even about the transition, right?
Yes,
The
yes,
transition
that's true.
to working from home. Are they going to be as productive as they are in the workplace, or are will they still even be needed in at work or in their company? Are they still going to be even relevant? So for those who are not used to the concept of being able to work from home, I think a lot of them don't feel that they're productive at home. But you are more productive when you're at home because you're comfortable, and pretty much you have responsibility in terms of managing your own time. So I
Yeah.
feel that when you work from home, you actually get a lot more things done.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. But for me, actually struggled at first because since I
Hmm.
have to manage my time, I really have to like be very disciplined when what time I'll wake up, what time I have to do
True.
certain tasks.
Uh-huh.
So, what are the things you don't like about working from home? Or and
Nothing.
really,
Yes,
oh, wow.
I think it's also because one of the perks I have with because I work for the mental health industry.
Mhm.
And so during the summer in August, we have a 2 week work break, and that's paid. And then in
Oh wow.
December, I get a 2 week holiday break, and then plus 3 weeks paid time off, the dates of my own choosing. So every year I get 7 weeks paid time off. So that's
Wow.
why there's nothing about my job that I don't like. And I really love the setup. I've been working for the same company for the past 4 years now.
Wow, 4 years. That's a long
4 years.
time.
That's how much my boss and I like each other.
Was it hard for you to during the transition, like from corporate and then working online? Was it hard for you? How did you like cope with the struggles in transitioning, working from home?
I think before you make a decision to work from home, you really have to already be committed to the idea of working from home. Because if you're half baked or if you're uncertain about it, then you'll definitely struggle. And you'll definitely go through major transitions. But I think in my case, I already I had a couple of years of experience of being able to work part time when I
Mm,
was working as an online trainer. So I was still working full time for Concentrics that time, and I had my part time trainer job on the side. And so,
mm,
I had the opportunity to compare, and I was very fortunate to have had that opportunity because I was it was when I made a decision to transition to working from home full time, then I already knew what to expect, so it wasn't hard. But I know
um,
that the biggest struggle or challenge really for those transitioning will really be the mindset and even the thought that are they gonna even enjoy working on their own, not being surrounded by people, because a lot of people are not used to that. But I think that that it really, it really goes back to your preference and what you'd like. Because even if you work from home and if you work for a company, you still have coworkers and you can still communicate with them. You still have meetings, right? So you can still see them virtually. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that today, even for people who work in regular workplaces, because at the start of the pandemic, everybody was working from home. So they had a taste of what work from home is, the kind of life that those who work from home have. So they've had a taste of that. So basically, it's just going to be to get a lot of getting used to. But the biggest
Wow.
hurdle there will really be a change of mindset.
Mindset.
It may not be for everyone, especially for those who are younger, right? When you're younger, you'd like to be surrounded with people, you'd like a lot of energy, you'd like the dynamics
Yeah.
that come with being in an environment with a lot of people around. But as you grow older, your priorities change, the things that you'd like to do with your time change. So I think when I also made a decision to transition to working from home, I was at that stage in my life where my priorities have changed. And so I was more than ready for this type of lifestyle.
Before you transitioned to working online, you mentioned that you were working part time online, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think it's advisable for those who want to transition to working from home to keep their full time job and then look for part time first before leaving their corporate jobs?
Yes, just so that you'd have a taste of what that kind of lifestyle will be like, because that's going to be a major career move. Transitioning from the conventional workplace to working from your own place, right? That kind of setup.
Uh,
It's definitely going to be a big change. And so I would really highly recommend that you try, you try working online, get a part-time gig first, have a taste of what work from home will be like, during that period, and then you can make a decision from there if it's something that you see yourself doing long term, or if it's something that does not work for you. At least you can decide. And there are a lot of part-time gigs that you can find out there, especially during this pandemic.
yeah.
There's the demand for out work from home has really gone up. I heard a lot of people were able to um, get hired by companies who were looking for people who were working overseas. I think it's also because it's more practical, it's more economical for them to be able to hire somebody overseas or to hire somebody who can work in that type of space. So yes, getting a part-time job online should give anybody the experience that they would need to find out if it's something that can work for them or not.
Yeah.
And when you work part-time, it's not a lot of time, right? And
That's true.
yeah, it's not a lot of time. I remember that part-time job that I had working for that company. They actually sponsored my trip to go to Beijing. So I was able to
Oh,
visit the office in Beijing. They had me go to Beijing because I was one of the people awarded as a top trainer. Um, Me and another friend of mine was also a Filipino, and then one American, one British, and one Chinese trainer. So there were like five of us who went to
wow.
Beijing for to be recognized and to star in their a company video. They were launching, promoting their services, and we were included in the shoot.
Well, I think you're
So
really
yeah,
blessed to be able to find work that's really like giving you all the benefits.
yes, that is so true. Very fortunate. I think it's primarily because before I make any major decisions, I pray about it to make sure that it's
Um,
something that is has God has intended for me. So, you know,
yeah.
there's that part or there's that factor.
Were you able to encounter difficult clients or difficult people working online?
So far, no.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
you're
so
really blessed.
far. I think I've been very fortunate to work with people who are also kind and respectful, and kindness and respect, it goes both ways. And I think it's very important that when you work with people, it's very important that you're professional and that you also are very courteous.
Yeah.
Um, because if you come into this kind of environment having that in mind, I don't think you'll ever encounter anybody that you're gonna have a very hard time working with or managing relationally. So far, I haven't had any difficulties.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to your work now. So
Mhm.
what exactly is your designation? Are you a virtual assistant or what's your designation right now?
Um, I am currently I work as a senior administrator for
Okay.
our company, so I am the office person. I'm the AKA office manager, so I run everything office related.
Okay.
Whatever that means. When I say whatever that means, I'm like a go-to person when it comes to anything related to our office.
Okay, so
So, mm,
what do you think are the skills that someone should would need in order in order to work in a similar job, like an admin related job?
a lot of times, many people look for, a VA job, and that's what most employers are also looking for, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah.
number one, you have to be very organized because when you work as an administrator, you are in charge of everything. Like you have to be on top of things. So, it's important to be organized. Number two, you have to also know how to manage your time. Scheduling, that's very important. So I think that if you're going to be very specific about it, if people out there are looking to work as an administrator or as a VA, you have to have admin skills, and that requires organization, that requires being able to manage schedules, that requires time management as well, and that also requires, you know, I think basics like the G Suite of services,
Mm.
um, cloud, what else? Um, Microsoft Excel, or if you're using Apple, then that works as well. Yeah, just the basics. It's not complex, it's not complicated. When you have the basics down, oh, there. It's also very important that you know how to manage expectations properly. When you're saying yes, say yes because you know you can get it done, not because you're trying to impress. Because if you're out to impress,
Um,
you'll be stressed, right?
okay.
And don't be the yes person. Just say yes, yes, yes. I am not saying that you say no, but I'm saying that when you commit when you know that you can get it done. And when there are deadlines, commit to a deadline. It's important that the timelines of your tasks, because they're not going to tell you, okay, get this done in this period or within 2 or 3 days. You're the one who's tasked to perform to perform the task. So I'm pretty sure that more than anybody, you'll be the best person to determine the timeline. So you can say, I can get this done in a week, or I can get back to you in a week. So make sure that when you commit to deadlines or to timelines, it's something that's doable. For Filipinos, we have a tendency to be people pleasers, right? Filipinos
Yeah.
like to please a lot. Yeah, really. And so Filipinos also like to impress. But really, when you come into um, this type of workspace wherein you're working for somebody from an entirely different culture, so they have, they're very different from Filipino bosses or from you know, yeah, the foreign bosses are so different.
So
If
now
you're
that you
working for,
mentioned it,
Mhm.
sorry, sorry.
Yeah,
Now that
sure,
you
go
mentioned
ahead.
it, what are the difference when it comes to working with a foreign client? Is it difficult, or was there an adjustment for you?
I think no, there was not a major adjustment simply because I came from the call center industry. And
Mm-hmm.
so early on when I started my career, I was very customer centered or customer oriented, customer service oriented. And very early on, I was also trained on the different culture, especially with American culture. So there was no major adjustment there. I pretty much knew how to work with them. And even when I was working for Concentrics in the past, I had so much client engagement. I also like the fact that they're very straightforward with what they want. So they will tell you what
Mm.
the requirement is. Um, so you'll have to guess. They will tell you what their expectations are. And then, um, and then you can tell them if it's something that can be done within this time frame. And then, it's in my case, in my experience, it's super easy. No major adjustments. And with communication, it's very clear because they tell you right off the bat what they require and what they want. So you don't have to guess. I remember when I started working for him 4 years ago, there were so many things I wanted to implement. Because remember,
Okay.
when I came in as an administrator, right? So
Mm.
there were so many things I wanted to change, I wanted to improve, and he was like, "Why are you rushing?" He was asking me, "Why are you in a rush? It's okay. You can take your time to, do the things that you'd like to do to get done, or the changes you'd like to roll out. It's okay. You don't have to rush." My boss was telling me to slow down. So I was like rushing, but I'm so used to, I'm so used to being so busy, and then here comes my boss telling me to slow down, and then and I'm the kind of I'm the type of person who's so used to doing so many things. And because I want to do so many things, he was like telling, and then he told me, "I don't expect you to do this and that." And then he said,
Mm.
"These are my only expectations." I was like, okay, okay. So he's like, yeah, he likes to slow down. So I was able to adjust to that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I love working for him. 4 years later, right? I've learned to slow down also because of my boss.
Since you work from the call center industry, do you think people who are currently working in the call center industry do you think it will be um, easier for them, or do they have an advantage when it comes to
Yes,
transitioning? Mm.
definitely. And I'm a lurker in some of the Facebook groups because they're like Facebook groups that are made up of online Filipino freelancers. There's
Mm.
one group, I'm a member of it. It's called Online Filipino Freelancers, and there's another one that I'm a part of. It's called Flip. I forgot what it means, but
Mm.
these are people who are working from home, and they share their experiences in the groups. They also post about job openings, or if their company is hiring, then if if their company is hiring, then they share the information. And so I'm a lurker there because I haven't posted anything since becoming a member in these groups. But I like to read the posts. I I celebrate with those who share really great experiences, and who share, awesome testimonies about what has happened in their lives since they transitioned to working from home. And
Mm.
so I could see that most of the job postings that I've seen in these groups, um, a lot of these posts, they would always indicate that having a call center experience is definitely an advantage. Or there are even job posts wherein, they would only hire somebody who has a call center background. I think it's mainly because a lot of people who hire, they don't have time to train you. And so
Uh,
they are looking for somebody who has the skills, basic skills needed to get the job done. And so they also know that over time you're gonna learn how to do the tasks on your own, but primarily they want to make sure they're hiring somebody who has the basic skills needed to get the job done. And so that's why I think it's important for them to hire somebody who knows the culture, is familiar with the culture, has had engagement or interactions with people within their culture, those who are familiar with um, you know, how let's say Americans or Canadians or Australians, um, how their customers think and how their customers like to, pretty much what their customers want. So they would hire somebody who has experience in handling customer relations. And I think also because they don't want to risk miscommunication, because when you're working from home, it's not a face-to-face interaction. And a lot of
yes.
times, um, from my experience, my boss and I, we don't do a lot of video calls. Like I think
Okay.
we video call maybe twice a year max.
So
Yeah,
mostly your
most of the time
communication is through chat or email.
text. My boss
Oh,
messaged
okay.
me, I message me, and I message, or he would call me, right? And
Okay.
so we don't really video call. That's not something that we do all
Mm.
the time. So um, that's why it's if you're somebody who does not have any experience, um, you could be misinterpreted, right? Because
Yes, that's true.
you don't have the presence of paralinguistics. Paralinguistic is, example, when I say I'm hungry, right?
Yeah.
So you don't think I'm really hungry because you're just
Yeah,
hearing my tone. But when I
that's true.
say I'm hungry and then I
Mm.
am doing this, right? You can see me physically, so you know that the reason why I was speaking in a monotone was because I was really hungry and probably tired.
Mm.
So there's an absence of paralinguistic. So I think that's the reason why they would like to hire somebody who's already trained in that area, who has a smiling
Mm.
voice. But there are also jobs that don't require call center experience. Example, I think the jobs wherein what do you call that? Um, it's not encoding. I forgot. Transcription.
Transcription, yeah.
Transcription jobs does not require experience. I know that there are people who hire, um, bookkeeping is also done online.
Yeah.
So they hire bookkeepers online and people who can do a little bit of accounting online. So, who can do stuff like that. So they don't require skills. And I also know that um, when they do SEOs, and then social media management, they don't require call center experience as well.
Um, so, okay.
But for
So,
VA, definitely, they're gonna ask you if you've had any experience working for somebody who, or even interaction.
so when
Yeah.
it comes to, I'm sure a lot of people are curious about this. So when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
compensation, how big
Mm-hmm.
is the difference? If you don't want to mention figures, it's okay, but
Mm-hmm.
how big is the difference when it comes to compensation? Because I'm sure a lot of people are curious about this.
Uh, so if um, I was. earning when I was working for the corporate world. I was already earning a lot.
Mm.
But then when I worked, I was earning a lot when I worked in the corporate world. But when I worked online, so yeah. So if this
Okay.
is what I used to earn in the past, I was early, I was already earning a very decent income. And
Uh,
then when I transitioned to working from home, there, it's a
okay.
huge difference.
Okay, that's a
And
huge
of course,
difference.
other factors that come into play is, you know, most of the bosses or majority of the bosses or the people you'll be able to work with are also going to be very generous. Um, my boss, my first year working for him, he bought me a brand new MacBook. So
Wow.
I said goodbye to my old MacBook. I sold it because he gifted me with a new one. My first year with him, December of
Wow.
that year, his Christmas gift was he sent me a bonus plus a new MacBook. So, right?
Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And then, he's amazing. What else? On my birthday, he sends me a birthday gift, monetary birthday gift
Wow.
every year. And then he gives me bonuses just because he wants to, like surprise bonuses. I remember at the start of the pandemic, in March, because there
Mhm.
was news of, countries locking down, etc. My boss back in March, he sent me $1,000 to buy groceries so that I could, yeah, so that I could lock
You can
down.
hoard the job.
I could eat whatever I want while
Oh,
in
okay.
quarantine. So I just wanted to make sure that he took care of me. So,
Wow.
and I've heard of stories wherein, these are from being a lurker in the groups.
Lurker.
Yeah, from being a lurker in the groups, there were testimonies there, stories of VAs who worked for their bosses for quite some
Mhm.
time, and their bosses helped them, get a house or even pay the down payment to get a car, or would help them with their kids' tuition, or if somebody gets sick in the family and ends up in the hospital, their boss ends up, giving monetary help. So, the generosity that you get off of your bosses, without any question, they are generous. But that's not a ground, though, for people to be abusive. I never asked my boss for
Yeah.
anything.
Mm.
Like, I never ask him. That's why, because I never asked. So I feel
He
that
freely gives.
probably, yeah, that's why he gives because I never asked. And he always tells me that. Would I remember the first couple of years of me working for him, he would say, "Why do you never ask?" And I said, "No, I'm not comfortable asking." And so because I never ask and he's not sure what to give me, he always ends up just sending me money.
Wow.
And I also send gifts. Every year I send gifts to my
Okay.
boss and his family. And his kids love receiving their yearly gifts from me. Or when I travel, I also send them something from whatever country I go to.
So you were also really able to build a relationship with your boss through the years working for him.
Yes, definitely. Uh-huh. And I think one other thing that I've, in the corporate world, I work with foreign clients directly, right? There's client
Yeah.
engagement. And if there's anything that I've also enjoyed working with these people is that they are, they will compliment you and you know, they will appreciate you. And they're never short of compliments or appreciation. When they appreciate you for a job well done, they will tell you. And
Yeah.
you feel more inspired. You all the more you're motivated to do your job better, to do better because you are appreciated for all that you do.
Wow,
You
you're
get
very
motivated.
blessed. You're very blessed with your
Oh, the hashtag.
boss. Hashtag blessed.
Yes, I love
Hashtag
my
sana
boss.
all.
Oh, I love my boss. He's awesome. Like I can't begin to describe how awesome he is. Yeah, my boss, he's the kind of person who likes to write. So, example, out of the blue, he would write me a note of appreciation, and
Wow.
then every December he'd write me a lengthy note, a lengthy email, and then thanking me for certain things, and then for making his life easier. There's always that part, right? And and whenever whenever I receive a note of appreciation, you know, that on my end, that somehow affirms that I was able to deliver what I need to do.
Mm.
So whenever my boss would say, you know, you have made my life easier, then I know I've done my job because that's what I'm here for, to make his job, to make his life easier. So he would always say, you know, I appreciate you for, because I remember the first year I worked for him, he told me, you know, thank you so much for what you do because what you have done this year has allowed me to have more time with my family. And
Wow.
so I know that meant so much to him. And, you know, and because I also fix his schedule. So I make sure to, when I see his schedule, I make sure to free up sometimes, especially on his birthday and stuff like that. He doesn't tell me these things, but I do
Initiate
extra
it.
stuff. And I always tell him, your birthday's coming up. So what do you plan on doing? I think you should go home. We can cancel some of your appointments, initiate some of these things, and he appreciates that. So he tells his wife that he can go home early, and he knows his kids will surprise
Oh.
him. And so when they, of course, even if he knows that there's going to be a surprise, when he receives a surprise, it still melts his heart. It still makes
Oh.
him super happy. So just, these may be little things, but when you're mindful and thoughtful about these things, you can really bring so much um, comfort and, can make their life a lot easier. And, I told him, I don't think I'm ever going to leave you. Probably if you retire or when I retire. I think this is for keeps because I found the perfect job, the perfect boss to work for. And oh, yes, and before I worked for him full time, I also did I did part time for him for a couple no, for almost 3 months before I
Mm,
left
okay.
my full time job and you know decided to work for him full time. So it was also test the waters for us because I initially when I started working for him, I told him I cannot transition to full time yet. And I was very clear from the onset. When he interviewed
Mm,
me for the job, I told him I want to start doing part time
part
first to
time.
test the
Mm.
waters, just so that, we can both determine if we are a perfect fit
Fit for
or
each
if
other.
yeah, if you're somebody who'll be comfortable working with me long term, or if I'm going to be comfortable working for you long term. And so that's the kind of arrangement we had. And then I told him after 3 months, or before the 3 months is over, I'm going to let you know if I'm going to go full time with you. And then the day I told him, I said, Ari, I've decided to go full time. And you know, he said, and then the question he asked me was, um, so did you notice that the time frame where, and I said yeah, because he was like yeah. I said no. He said it only took me 4 seconds. So he said that that's how excited he was, with me making the decision to transition full
Full
time.
time.
But I think that would be a great idea for anybody, thinking about transitioning to an online job. It would be a good idea to test the waters, check and see if you can do a part-time arrangement, and then, get your feet wet, and then, swim head on, dive head on, if you feel that this is a relationship that works for you, a work relationship that works for you. So yeah, I I found the well, for me it's the perfect job. I have no plans of resigning anytime soon or leaving him for somebody else. I mean, 7 weeks paid time off. That's
Amazing, amazing
that's a lot of
benefits.
time off a year. And I only work 8 hours a day, office hours. I'm weekends I'm off, holidays I'm off. If it's a
Mm.
national holiday in the US, if it's a major Jewish holiday, the office is closed. So I have so many holidays in my calendar. So
Amazing.
yeah, I've found the perfect job.
Okay, so to wrap it up, can you
Hmm.
what advice can you give, especially those who are working in the call center industry? What advice can you give them when it comes to like transition, and not just transitioning, but working from home, or to those who
I
are
think
still
for
working full time? General
mhm.
advice for them.
I think for those who are already working in the call center industry, you have a very big advantage. So use that advantage to your advantage, right? Another
Mhm.
thing is, um, work if you have difficulty with time management, then make sure to work on that. Be consistent. It's very important to be consistent. Make sure that you know you have to be self-disciplined because again, when you work from home, you have a boss, but your boss is online, right? So make sure that you you're disciplined with how you manage your time and even how you manage yourself at home. Like make sure that you are getting enough sleep because you might end up binge watching shows on Netflix, right? A lot of people do that.
Yes.
um, they binge watch and then they work online. They
Really?
barely get some sleep, right? So it's also very important to have a routine. Make sure that you have a routine. A routine is very important. Having a routine will help make you feel that everything is stable, everything is okay.
Mm.
So that's very important. And if you have friends who are working from home or who are working online, reach out to them, ask them how their experience has been for them. Because I know that it's not for everybody. Yeah, it is not for everyone. It's because you might end up not liking it at all, right? So and from what I've shared today, it might come across that it's pretty awesome. Well, from based on my experience, it has been an awesome journey, an awesome ride, but it may not be the same for everybody. Maybe there are other people out there who have had challenges, who've struggled. I know that there are people who have struggled to find an online job, but as you go through even that process, and if you know that this is for you, like transitioning to working online, if you feel that this is for you, then don't give up. Don't give up till you find the right job and you find the right person to work for. And more than anything, when you work in this type of setup, it's very important that you like your boss. Seriously, it's so
Yeah.
important that you like the person you work for. I can't overemphasize that enough because if you don't like the person that you work for, amongst your challenging will be, you might be get demotivated, or work will probably stress you out. And remember, when you work from home, you have limited access to your coworkers because they're also working online, right? And you'll have different activities or different tasks. So there, it's very important you like the person you work for. You like your boss. If you don't like your boss, then look for somebody else. I think it's also important to remember the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Mhm.
Understand before being understood. Yeah, that's one of the habits.
Mhm.
Make sure that you try to see things from the perspective of the other person first, because maybe you're too biased, or maybe there are also opportunities for you to grow or even to mature in certain areas of your life. Because for sure, I know that um, it's very hard for us to sometimes see the, our flaws, right? So I
Yes.
think it's important to have that kind of perspective wherein we try to see things from the other person's perspective. And then, if if there is a need for us to improve, to change, to mature, then by all means, right, work on that. Work on those things and work out those things in your life. Become a better version of yourself,
Yourself.
of who you are. hmm I think,
Okay,
yeah,
so
those are the only things I wanted to say.
yeah, so
I
thank
hope
you
that made
so
sense.
much. Yeah, it made sense. It made so much sense. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing your
My pleasure.
experience. Hope this
Yes,
helps a
let's
lot of
dominate the
people.
online world.
So that's it for the interview. I hope that her story inspired you and I hope you got something out of it. So until the next video, bye.